What do most people do wrong in a fight? Try to go crazy and expend lots of energy when not needed to. If you act crazy enough you'll scare your opponent off though. No one wants to fight an insane person. If you get the opportunity I recommend peeing everywhere to mark your territory before the fighting begins. The ol' razzle dazzle. Take lunging punches. The back quote running up then jump and punch is a lot worse though. This was really effective in Captain Commando though. Mostly the inner fight part, but also the lesser known the other guy knew a fight had begun, but somehow I did not until I was already knocked out method. And then there's the timeless classic, I mean I never threw a punch in my life, but I lift a little and look how buff I am, where this other kid's small and wiry f. Easy win maneuver. The I'm slightly bigger therefore I must be the clear winner mentality. When I was in the military, I sparred with a guy half my size once. I figured I'd take it easy so as to not really hurt him. As an accomplished amateur boxer, discovered after the fact, he mopped the floor with me embarrassingly quickly. It was a good lesson to learn in a controlled environment. Think that they can fight. Most people think they can. They can't. Yeah, my friend did kickboxing in secondary school and loads of people didn't know this. A lot of people also didn't like him, so it was up to his friends to say, if you fight you will lose and be humiliated so please don't, and all of them would respond I could take him easy, and in the end, no they couldn't. From what I've noticed most people that have not had any training just throw as many punches as fast as they can hoping some of them will connect instead of having any sort of strategy they learned from video games. Just mash all the buttons and hope something cool happens. One time I got into an altercation with a larger fellow and started to panic. I wound up quickly crouching down, then taking a quarter step forward while standing back up and also simultaneously throwing a jab, and much to my surprise a fireball flew out of my hands. Do something fancy they saw on last night's MMA fight. If even trained fighters have trouble landing that cool looking spinning back kick or flying triangle every time without fail, then an amateur would fail every time. Also, remember to keep your chin down, hands up to protect your head, and remember that you have hips and legs. Stay clothed. Don't make me take my pants off. Fight on pavement. Please don't do that. You can easily fall and hit your head and get serious brain damage or get slammed into the pavement. Either take it to a softer surface or don't fight at all. Edit. YouTubers please censor my name. Edit 2. Mayo stop roasting me. I'm not sure people getting into fights have the time to figure out a venue. Just watch Baze Rutten's video Lethal Street Fighting. It's outrageously funny, and some of the things he teaches are not wrong. It covers pretty much everything mentioned here, plus a few weird ones like bouncing a guy's head off the ambience tables, chairs, walls, and playing hide the hot sauce bottle once your opponent is unconscious. But there's also serious stuff. Joking aside, running people's heads into things is really effective. You're gonna get charged for it if you so much as thought about starting the initial conflict, but it's not ineffective if you're the victim and you're fighting to save yourself. Traumatic impact of the head on a hard heavy object is no joke. I've seen a lot of fights and been in more than a few. The loser almost always loses because they don't actually want to hurt the other person, though it's real hard for me to say that's wrong. Yep, I've seen people release a submission because they abide by the tap. Next thing you know they release it and they're out cold. I was a bouncer for roughly 5 years during my college and law school days. The number one biggest mistake people make, and it ain't even close, is getting liquored up first. Reaction time is everything, and those tenths of a second or more you're losing are catastrophic. Yep, my ranked level in Rocket League can attest to the reaction time bit. Telegraphing your intentions. If you so insist on getting into a fight, don't start screaming or shouting. Don't even look at your opponent too much. Just walk towards them, and when they have no way to dodge anymore, and you're well inside their reach, land a quick jab at their throat or uppercut their jaw. If they don't go down immediately, follow it up with a quick kick in the groin. You're not looking to have a prolonged engagement or show off your sick martial arts skills. You want to exert as little effort as possible, with as much result as possible. Underestimate their opponent by just looking at their size. Look at Johnny vs Danielson. Or look at skinny MMA fighters and see them in street clothes. You never know what kind of experience/training they have under the hood. Panic and/or freeze. The person willing to commit to violence fastest usually wins. If you think you're in a spot where fighting is the only solution, hit fast and hit hard. None of this waiting to be attacked bullpoop. I'd say 9/10 fights start with the aggressor throwing a big right hand. If you prepare for that, then you are already ahead. Also, most street fights I see online, people swing wildly. I'd guess because they think the more you swing the harder you hit, but this is not so. If you take a wide swing, I have more time to react and more room to block. Add to this that most people just throw arm punches. It's much better to throw a very straight punch without telegraphing your movement. Start your punch from your feet and transfer energy to your legs, through your hips, up your spine, through your shoulders, and finally to your fist. You want your first to the B end of the whip, but the power comes all the way from the ground. I was also taught not to aim for the face, but imagine punching a hole right through their head. Playing fair. The goal of a fight is to end the fight. Scratch the eyes, kick the groin, defecate yourself and overpower their senses. Most people throw these wild, wide hooks that leaves them exposed. A lot of people really don't know how to properly punch either. Do not ever grab your friend to prevent them from fighting. Get in between them and the other person facing the other person. Your friend loses all ability to defend themselves once you bear hug them to defuse the situation. Try to fight like they do in the movies. If you really want to end a fight right away, grappling is going to work better than punching them in the face. Move backwards when attacked. Natural instinct is the person attacking me is coming from the front, so I should move backwards. But the person attacking you can move forwards faster than you can move backwards, and now they have momentum moving forward behind their attacks. Moving sideways is the way to go. Not bite, it's the most underutilized move and highly effective. Go for the jugular. I was jumped by two much bigger guys outside a McDonald's. I have shoulder impingement and no fighting experience. One guy punched me in the head, and rather than try to hit back, I rushed into his punch, pinned him against the wall and bit his throat as hard as I could. He screamed an incredibly high-pitched and uncomfortable to hear sound, and his buddy ran off into the night. When I let him go, I thought he would leave with his friend, but he didn't. So in panic, I blurted, "You taste delicious. You got a boyfriend?" And then he sprinted. After they left, I seriously just sat there shaking and crying for a few minutes, then went to a 24-hour clinic to get a blood test. I still have nightmares about that horrible sound he made. I think he thought I was killing him, and for a second, I thought I might be too. Kicks. If you can't kick, it will almost always do nothing if you don't have proper form and axial balance. The way my instructor always put it, when you kick, you're giving them a present. Hold back and wait for them to give you a present. I can do a lot when someone gives me their leg. Allowing it to happen. Don't walk away, run away. Very few fights are worth it. You're not a coward for running. Fight fair. Look, if it's a fight you don't have to have, you should avoid it at all costs. Only an idiot gets into a fight they don't have to be in. If you're cornered into one, then your goal should be to end the fight as quickly as humanly possible, with as little risk to yourself as possible. That means you don't stand there trading punches like a boxing match. It means you kick him in the nuts, you wrench an arm out of socket, you do whatever it takes to make them physically incapable of fighting back. Your goal is to survive without injury. You fight dirty, you fight to win, and you don't worry about any fair nonsense. Fair fight is what the loser cries about to explain why they lost. Bruce Lee wrote a ton when he hurt his back in a weightlifting accident, not an underground fight. One of them later became the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, which was compiled and published posthumously. In it he says basically what you are saying. He says something about how most martial artists are always concerned with fighting honorably, but when you look at it objectively you have to admit that fighting is a dishonorable practice, especially in the modern age. So why be hung up on honor? To that end he basically goes on to write a primer for what would later become modern MMA, where he finds the most effective techniques in dozens of martial arts and compiles them in one place.